Welcome to In the Beginning Profiles of the Bible. Today we'll be covering Sarah, wife of Abraham. Please hit the like and subscribe button. We hope you enjoy. Sarah, also known as Sarai before her name was changed by God, is a key figure in the biblical narrative, particularly within the context of the Abrahamic tradition. As the wife of Abraham, Sarah plays a crucial role in the fulfillment of God's promises and the establishment of the covenantal lineage that shapes the course of salvation history. Her story is one of faith, perseverance, and transformative power of God's grace, offering valuable insights into the complexities of human relationships and the journey of faith. Sarah's story begins in Genesis 11, where she is introduced as the wife of Abraham, then known as Abram, the son of Terah. Genesis 11:29 through 30 provides an overview of Sarah's lineage and her initial struggles with infertility. Now Sarai was barren, she had no child. Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his grandson, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth together from the Ur of Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. This passage highlights the challenges that Sarah faced as a woman unable to conceive, a source of great shame and distress in the ancient Near East culture, where women's worth and identity were often closely tied to their ability to bear children. Despite her barrenness, Sarah accomplishes Abraham on their journey from the Ur of the Chaldeans to the land of the Canaan, demonstrating her loyalty and commitment to her husband and their shared destiny. The promise of descendants plays a central role in Sarah's story, as God repeatedly assures Abraham of his intention to bless him with offspring as numerous as the stars in the sky. However, as years passed without fulfillment of this promise, Sarah's faith is put to the test, and she begins to doubt whether she will ever bear a child. In Genesis 15, God reaffirms his covenant with Abraham and promises him a son despite Sarah's advanced age. And he brought him outside and said, "Look towards heaven, number the stars, if you are able to number them." Then he said to him, "So shall your offspring be." And he believed the Lord, and he counted to him as righteousness. Despite Abraham's faith in God's promise, Sarah remains skeptical, promoting her to take matters into her own hands. In Genesis 16, Sarah suggests Abraham conceive a child with her Egyptian maidservant, Hagar, in order to fulfill God's promise. This decision leads to the birth of Ishmael, but it also introduces conflict and tension within Abraham's household, as Hagar becomes pregnant and begins to despise Sarah. The birth of Ishmael does not bring forth fulfillment of God's covenantal promise. However, as God reiterates his intention to bless Sarah with a son of her own. In Genesis 17, God appears to Abraham and announces that Sarah will bear a child in her old age, despite her initial disbelief. And God said to Abraham, "As for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarah, but Sarah shall be her name. I will bless her, and moreover, I will give you a son by her. I will bless her, and she shall become nations. Kings of peoples shall come from her." Genesis 17:15 through 16. This defined promise is met with laughter from both Abraham and Sarah, who find the idea of bearing a child in their old age to be absurd and impossible. Nevertheless, God reaffirms his promise in establishing the covenant with Abraham, reiterating his intention to bless Sarah with a son who will be the heir to the covenantal promise. In Genesis 18, three visitors, often interpreted as angels or manifestations of God, appear to Abraham and Sarah near the oaks of Mamre. They announce that Sarah will conceive and bear a son within the year, prompting Sarah to laugh at the prospect of bearing a child in her old age. However, the visitors assure her that nothing is too difficult for the Lord, and they reaffirm God's promise to bless her with a son. And the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh, saying, 'Shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time, I will return to you about this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son." Genesis 18:13 through 14. True to the visitor's word, Sarah conceives and gives birth to a son, whom she names Isaac, meaning he laughs. The birth of Isaac brings joy and fulfillment to Sarah and Abraham as they witness the miraculous fulfillment of God's promise in their old age. The story of Sarah's journey to motherhood is one of faith, perseverance, and transformative power of God's grace. Despite her initial doubts and disbelief, Sarah ultimately trusts God's promises and experiences the joy of seeing those promises fulfilled in her life. Her story serves as a reminder of God is faithful to his word and nothing is impossible for him. Beyond the narrative of Sarah's struggle with infertility and the birth of Isaac, her story highlights the complexities of human relationships and the dynamics of marriage. Sarah's decision to give Hagar to Abraham as a concubine reflects the cultural norms of her time and her desire to fulfill God's promise through her own efforts. However, this decision ultimately leads to conflict and tension with her household, showing the consequences of taking matters into one's own hands rather than trusting God's timing and provision. Despite her flaws and shortcomings, Sarah is celebrated in the New Testament as a woman of faith and a model of godly behavior in Hebrews 11:11 through 12. She is commended for her faith in God's promise. By faith, Sarah herself received power to conceive, even when she was past the age, since she considered him faithful who had promised. Therefore, from one man and him as good as dead were born descendants as many as the stars of heaven and as many as the innumerable grains of the sand by the seashore. Hebrews 11:11 through 12. Sarah's faith journey serves as an inspiration and encouragement to believers of all generations, reminding us of God's faithfulness and the power of trusting in his promises. Her story challenges us to relinquish control and rely on God's timing and provision, even when circumstances seem impossible. This has been In the Beginning, Profiles of the Bible. Today we have covered Sarah, the wife of Abraham. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and I hope you have a great day.